Good morning, team. Good afternoon or good evening. I hope you're having a bloody splendid start to the morning. So, you know the drill. If you're coming in here live, what you got to do is get down into the comments and hashtag I'm here, I'm live, say good morning, do whatever you want to do. We're going to kickstart this party in around 2 minutes. So if you're coming in, guys, I would love to know who the crew is in here. Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon to my brothers and sisters of the podcast, the Better Body Academy world. We love you, we appreciate you, and I'm super excited to be doing this podcast this morning because this is one of the most common questions that we get, and this is going to help. Look at this, we've already got 15 people in here live. So 15 people, get your ass down there and say good morning to your favorite coach. I want to know what's going down. All right, I might switch on Instagram and bring the crew into IG as well. So we're going to get started in 1 minute, brothers and sisters. So if you do watch this one on replay, please hashtag replay in the comments, and then we know that you've been in here and got the value. Good morning, Shauno. Good morning, good morning. Hey, Jimmy, what's going on, brother? Lovely to see your beautiful face in here, getting the good value that's coming up. Now, guys, good morning, Jace. So, I'm sorry. It really sucks with this streaming stuff. I can't actually see who it is. Unless you tell us your name, but that's all right. I don't care. Guys, we are going to be started in 30 seconds, and what we are going to be talking about right here is how to hit your protein target, why it's important, and how to never miss it again. I guarantee a lot of you are struggling with this, and I know it because we keep getting questions about it through our client success team. So I think we are ready to rock and roll. Look at this. We've already got 25 people getting in live, so I'm going to honor this and start on time. So let's go, guys. All right, my team, here we go. On the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets, unsustainable workout programs, spinning the wheels, getting frustrated, and trying to work out how the bloody hell do I get this weight off. It is simpler than you think if you've got a plan and some accountability. Now, today we're going to be talking about protein. However, what I do want to do is a bit of an acknowledgement to our crew, our clients. We've got some great vibes going on in the world at the moment. We've got people from all around the world, around 300 clients, just really pushing things at the moment, and I'm loving seeing it. In fact, check this out. For those of you that don't know yet, literally tonight, in about 6 hours, I'm taking my 2 kids and beautiful wife on a plane to Australia, to the beautiful Hunter Valley, where we've got, what do we got? 29 people that are going to be put together, and that includes 27 women, and me and Troy and Mike for the first night. How the hell are Troy and I, best mates since primary school, how the fuck are we going to handle 27 women? But I tell you what, it's going to be sick. The vibes are going to be high, and I guarantee you this is going to be life-changing. To all the boys that went to the men's retreat, feel free to let me know in the comments, or feel free to let the girls know in the comments what they're going to expect, and give them some tips on how to use the hot tubs and the saunas and the like. Okay, just for the locals as well, in addition to that, I want to remind you that tomorrow, girls and guys, we are meeting up for a local stomp. Not tomorrow, what am I talking about? On Sunday morning. I don't know why I said tomorrow. On Sunday morning at 6:30. So if you want to come along and meet your coaches in person, Carly will be there, Troy might be there, Mike will be there, I will be there. Get along, come and give us a cuddle and have a coffee with us. Let's get into the podcast. Okay, so I want to talk about protein. The goal of this episode is getting you to focus on this as the priority, okay? As your nutritional priority is getting you to focus on protein. Training or not, increasing your protein will have maximum weight management benefits, okay? Now, listen, I said training or not, whether you're exercising or not, just increasing the protein will make the world of difference, and I'm going to explain why in a second. I want you to think of protein like the building blocks of a house. Okay? Imagine that you decided to, you know what, we've got some money, we're going to build a new house. You sell your old house and then you go down to the job site and you're checking all of the tradies. The tradies are on site, they're energetic, they're ready to work, and they're like, yeah, let's go, let's build this house. But you got no fucking bricks. The tradies can think about building a house, they can be excited about building a house, but if you've got no bricks, you've got no house. And in the same way, lots of you guys are getting into the gym and exercising and doing cardio and really breaking down muscle, and it's awesome and you feel good and you're getting a sweat up and you're feeling tired, but you got no bricks. And if you got no bricks, actually, the more that you train, you can train your bloody pants off. But if you're eating 50 grams of protein a day, actually, training is exacerbating the need for protein. It's making the need for protein greater. So the more you train, actually, the more difficult it's going to be, the more you need protein. So this is one of the things that, before I learned this as a dietitian, I thought that you could just train your way into a beautiful body. You cannot. You cannot. Nutrition is equally, probably more important than training. It's the more important component to get right. So if you're just training the pants off and you're not hitting your protein target and you're sitting there frustrated and wondering why you're not losing weight, you're not changing your body, you're not seeing an increase in tone or musculature, I'm going to guarantee you this is part of the problem. So the question is, do you want to start getting a return on your efforts? Do you want to start getting a return on your investment of time and money into the gym process? You know what? Some women particularly think that, yeah, but Jace, that's cool, but I don't want to get bulky. Oh my God, I have just defeated this into the ground and I will continue to do so. And if you're coming to the retreat, you better get used to me saying this. You are not going to, okay, I have trained since I was 10 years old. Okay, 10 years old. I know a thing about training. I know a thing about eating properly. This is as big as I can get. Training 3 to 4 days a week for 30 years. The chances of you getting bulky, under eating protein, not eating that much calories because you've probably been on a restrictive diet, not training with the same intensity that I would, not taking any form of drugs, of course, you're just not gonna get bulky. This will not happen simply by eating protein. In fact, what will happen by eating protein is your composition will change. You will, when paired with a good exercise program, start to pare down body fat, preserve and build muscle. And what will happen is your overall body composition will show the differences. It brings me to the second point about protein. Protein keeps you full. Now, I love the really simple analogies here, guys. I want you to imagine I get a piece of bread and I throw it in a sink full of water, right? What happens to that bread? It starts to dissolve. I could just stick my finger in it and it'll break apart, right? So compare that to a steak. If I threw the steak in the sink of water, do you think the steak would just start dissolving? No, it wouldn't. What I'm trying to illustrate here with this analogy is when you do the same thing and you throw a refined carbohydrate in your gut, or you throw a steak in your gut, the refined carbohydrate just starts to break apart like the bread in the sink. The steak does not. The steak is a mission for your gut to pull apart. The chicken, the fish, protein foods are difficult to pull apart compared to, for example, processed carbohydrate foods. So what do you think the benefit of this will be? The benefit of this will be that you stay fuller for longer. that resistance to digestion is what keeps you full. And if you couple that with a high fiber diet, the other thing that keeps you full, protein and fiber, it'll keep you extra full. Now, what would be the benefits of being extra full? Well, who notices themselves snacking aimlessly all day and they just seem to be really hungry and insatiable? I guarantee you that this does not happen when you're getting your protein intake up. Talking about fiber, just so you understand, cannot be digested by humans. Cows can eat fiber all day, and they have an enzyme in their gut that allows them to break down fiber. We cannot. So when we eat fiber, we lack that enzyme in our gut to break it down. So it passes through the gut, pretty much staying the same apart from chewing it up and a little bit of acid breakdown. But for the most part, when you combine protein and fiber together, and the best place to think about where you're going to get this is whole, unprocessed foods, the whole processing speed of the gut slows down. Now, for a lot of you, I want you to think about when you first started in Better Body Academy. My guess is that you probably got a little bit of constipation when you started on our meal plan. Does it make sense now why that happened? Because your whole gut, which was probably used to just getting refined carbohydrates over and over again. Oh, I'm hungry. Oh, I'm full again. I'm hungry. I'm full again. It's just pushing it right through. All of a sudden, you've got these chunks of protein and fiber coming from unprocessed foods that are just hard for the gut to move forward. And so what happens is they slow everything down. This is a good thing because it means your overall calorie consumption tends to go down, whether or not you're tracking or not. So, now that you know the two reasons why this is important, I want to talk a bit about making sure that you hit the protein target every day. It's important to remember, however, that protein foods are typically high in calories. Now, for those of you watching live, I want you to think about why they might be high in calories. I'm going to tell you the answer, but why are they high in calories? Why would protein foods be high in calories most often? Why would that be? Well, most often because you think about protein foods like meat. That's what you tend to think of, right? Meat, fish, poultry, chicken. They typically they're flesh, animal flesh. So they're paired with fat. And so it's not the protein itself that is high in calories. It's the fact that it's coming with the fat, with the flesh, that makes the overall meat product, fish, whatever it is, higher in calories than something more moderate. When people say lean protein, because everyone says lean protein, but a lot of the times they don't know what they're actually saying. When people say lean protein, what they actually mean is protein with as little fat attached as possible. Does that make sense? Lean protein. Kind of like being a lean human. You've got as little fat attached as possible. Now, I want to clarify something. This is really important, especially if you're new to this game. Listen up. When we say that you need to consume 200 grams of protein in a day as a man, 150 grams of protein in a day as a woman, these are ideal. That does not mean 200 grams or 150 grams of meat. Just hear me twice, guys, because this is so important. 200 grams of protein is not 200 grams of meat. They are very different things. If that's confusing, let me explain it to you maybe this way. If I was to take a bite of you, do you think I'd be eating majority protein if I took a bite? Maybe if I took a bite of Nick Friend or Xanth, maybe, or maybe Terry Holden, or maybe Nico. If I took a bite of you, it's probably going to be a fair amount of fat. Exactly the same as when we take a bite of chicken, steak, turkey. This is why a 200 gram slab of meat is not 200 grams of protein. That 200 gram slab of meat is going to contain predominantly water. It's going to contain fat as well, and of course, some protein. The protein component of that 200 grams, you should work off about 20%. So we get all like confused and it's like, man, I can't understand the protein, and just work off this. Nearly all proteins, let's park the calories for now. Nearly all proteins are about 20% protein. In other words, nearly all protein foods are about 20% protein. So whether it be meat, fish, chicken, turkey, lamb, beef, nearly all of them are about 20% protein. Or more specifically, if you take a 200 gram piece of any type of meat, you can be pretty confident that you will get about 40 grams of protein from that. If you take a 250 gram piece of meat, you can be very confident that about 50 grams of that is protein. So if you just want a quick calculation in your head, you just say, whatever the weight of the meat is, whatever it is, 1/5 of that is going to be protein. Guys, there's still 25 people watching here live. Can you please let me know if this makes sense? Whatever the weight of the meat that you're grabbing, about 1/5 of that weight, 20%, will be how much protein is in that food. Does this make sense, team? Please give me a holler in the comments. Because if that makes sense, well, then guess what? Working out how to get to your protein target all of a sudden becomes a little bit easier. Okay, so the only variable in that will be, for some meats, the calories are going to be higher. The protein will be the same, but the overall calories are going to be higher. So for example, in red meat, lamb, beef, like farmed animals that sit around and do fuck all day, they just eat, right? They're going to be higher in calories for that selected amount of protein. Something like white fish, which does nothing but swim around all day and doesn't just sit there eating all day, these are going to be less calories for the same whack of protein. But if you just want a quick equation, you just go for 1/5 of the weight, and that's your bang of protein. That's your yield. Does this make sense? This is why, this is really important, if people don't have any concern about the type of protein that they're consuming, yeah, you might hit your protein target fine. But the risk is that you'll go massively over your calorie target and you won't lose weight. Think about, the big boy that sits at the pub, gnawing down on his big ass steak. It's covered in gravy, big fat side of chips. The problem is that it's not that he didn't get the protein. The protein's there, but it's all the extra stuff that's gone with it. So when you're eating your protein foods, because we're going to get practical on how to put this together as a plan, a simple plan for you, very simple plan for you, you need to be thinking this. How do I get my protein in if I've got a weight loss goal or a weight management goal or even a stay lean goal? How do I get my protein in without maxing out the calories? Here's how. You choose the leanest cuts possible. So if you're a man and your wife or your partner does the shopping and she constantly comes home with these big ass piece of meats that's got like marbled and fat through them, sure, they're fine as a treat every now and then, but that's just a bunch of extra calories that you're going to consume. So firstly, you want to choose the leanest cuts you possibly can if you want to be some chance of managing your weight, okay? The second thing you need to do is cut off the visible fat while it's still raw. Okay, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll say, I'll cut the fat off after it, right? But the problem is with that, and most guys have zero willpower in this, The moment the fat starts like cooking up and sizzling on the pan, and you're like, ooh, I'm not cutting that off. And I pour gravy over the top of it and eat the whole thing, right? That is just a wondrous amount of calories that you're consuming. So cut it off while it's raw and doesn't smell like anything. It's not appealing at all. It's just a fat white blob. Choose the leanest cuts. Cut the visible fat off. Number 3 is use minimal oil. It still shocks me that people get things like burgers or sausages and add a bunch of oil into the pan to do that. I'm kind of like, you're adding oil to oil to oil, and that's just making you fat. You don't need it. The only thing you need is a bit of spray oil. You can use canola or you can use avocado oil, something with a high smoke point. Bang, bit of spray, done. That's it. Add minimal oil in your cooking. And then the third part of this is to ask yourself, what is the protein meal? What am I eating with the protein? What am I eating with the protein? Yeah, I might be having this beautiful lean piece of meat, but if I'm having it with a bunch of deep fried chips, then that's just going to shoot the calories right through the roof regardless of what's happening with your protein. Does this make sense, team? So 4 simple strategies. Get the leanest cuts of meat, cut off the visible fat, add minimal oil, and watch what you're having it with. Straight up, this is why my nearly every day, like honestly every day, my dinners are so simple. This is why I always hit my protein targets, and I just love my food. It's because every day it's a protein cooked, as I've described, with a packed salad because I can't be bothered doing something chopping and chopping. Fuck that. I'm just going to get a packet, bang. And then some microwave rice or some corn. Very simple. It's so damn simple, it's not even funny. There's not a person listening to this that can't go and implement this right now. You literally get any type of meat. It doesn't matter. As long as it's lean, you put it on the grill with spray oil. You cook it to the desire you like. You get a packet of salad. You dump it on the plate. Don't use all the sauce in the salad. And then pair it with some rice or sweet potato or corn or pasta. It doesn't really matter. That is healthy eating 101. So easy. Okay. So now how much protein do you actually need? Let's get Let's get specific. Guys, can you please let me know if this is helping, breaking this down? Because so many people struggle with this. We're holding the crowd in here, so I'm thinking it's helping. Please let me know if this is helping. Okay, how much protein do you need? The answer is more than you're consuming. That's the answer. If you are getting, let's talk about ideal versus good. If you are getting over 100 grams of protein a day, you are better than 90% of the world. Don't you think it's a bit weird that 90% of the world, like obesity crisis, no one's got any muscle, this is a plague. Why is it? Because the fucking dietary guidelines tell you to eat 40 grams of protein a day. This is based on pure survival, right? So you don't become malnourished. This is not based on thriving. If I ate 40 grams a day, I would look like a deprived skeleton. And I'd probably be overweight. Hint, hint. That's what's going on in the world, guys. If you are better than 100 grams a day as a man or a woman, you're better than 90% of the world. And I can tell you that because I know that so many of you, when you started in Better Body Academy and you started tracking your nutrition, you were shocked and you went, holy shit, I'm eating 40 grams of protein a day. By the way, shout out to my vegetarian and vegan friends. It is the worst diet in the world. I'm just going to put that out there. I have all respect for the morality. I think the cause is great. This is not a political show, but I will say it is extremely, extremely hard to get your protein target through tofu. Is going to be like you're going to need to eat a kilo of tofu a day. It's impossible. And this is why, again, I don't mean to be critical. Yeah, I'm just going to say it. Most vegan people don't look very healthy because of this reason. You have to get your protein in. All right. Most people in this space believe that around 2 grams of protein per kilogram Or, keep it simple, if you prefer to measure in pounds, 1 gram per pound, so depending on whether you're measuring kilograms or pounds, 2 grams per kilo or 1 gram per pound at your ideal body weight is good. So if you're a woman that ideal body weight, not what you weighed when you were 14, if your ideal body weight is 60 kilos, well then guess what? 60 kilos times 2 is 120 grams of protein. Or 60 kilos as pounds is about 130 pounds. 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight at your ideal is 130. If you're a man and you're 80 kilograms and you times 80 kilograms by 2, 80 kilograms being your ideal weight, you might weigh 100, but 80 kilogram, times it by 2, that's 160 grams. Okay? That's how, if you want to personalize it, you can do it. For me, I prioritize protein because it's filling. And if I'm not eating protein, what am I eating to make up my calories? I'm eating kind of like processed carbs or something. I would prefer to just simply say to people, men, 200 grams of protein, women, 140, 150 grams of protein, bang, that's about 40% of your calories done. Now go back to your life. Okay, as we wrap this, how the hell do you get to your protein target without exceeding the calories? The short answer is this. You prioritize the protein first, not just eat ad hoc. Does this make sense? You have to slot the protein in first. You can't be like, oh, well, I really like that food and I really like that food and I really like that food and I'll just see how much protein that is. No, you got to slot the protein foods in first. Regardless of where you're cutting or reverse dieting or bulking, whatever you want to call it. Whether you're cutting in a deficit or you're in a surplus, the protein stays the same. The protein doesn't change. 200 grams for men, 150 grams for women. It doesn't change. Whether you're bulking or reversing. The only difference is that if you're bulking, you have more carbs and fat. If you're cutting, you have less carbs and fat. The protein stays the same. So if you slot the protein first, you don't even need to worry about the carbs and fats because it's taken care of by the total calories in your diet. This is why people that teach like calculation of macros in percentages, I just think it's dumb. You don't need to do it. You just need to hit your protein target, hit your calorie target, done. That's why we don't even talk about macros. We talk about protein and calories. That's it. But you got to make it a non-negotiable. I must hit my protein target if I want to change my body. In fact, I'm going to give you guys a little hack. I know everyone loves hacks. If you do nothing but hit your protein target with lean, whole food proteins, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh man, I try to do Jenny Craig and track my calories and I fucking hated it and it ruined my life and blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. If you do nothing but hit your protein target with lean, whole food proteins, you don't even need to track. And that's because you will be so damn full. Protein is incredibly filling. It's almost impossible to overeat through food alone without supplements. Think about it, guys. It's hard to chew versus a bag of chips. Or a can of Coke. Bang. Protein is hard to chew. It's hard to chew a steak. It's hard to chew chicken over and over and over again. All those things that are really easy to drink or swallow with no chewing resistance and no resistance in the gut itself, that's why people become fat. Because the food's just going through them without fullness. So they're empty again, so they go and snack again. So let's do some very simple numbers to break down the target. Firstly, here's what you should do every day. A non-negotiable. If you do this, everything will change and you will no longer be telling us that you can't hit your protein target. Start the day with 50 grams of protein. How do you do that? You take 2 scoops of whey protein isolate. That's it. I don't care how you have it. You can have it in some almond milk as a blended smoothie. You can have it like I do in my oats, microwaved oats. Takes me 2 minutes. You could have it as a shake for the lowest form of calories. But if you have just 2 scoops of whey protein isolate at the start, that's 50 grams of protein for 250 calories. So whether you're tracking to a woman 150 grams a day or a man 200 grams a day, you've either got a third or a quarter of your entire day's protein done there. That one change, done. Just do it every day. Protein powder is the most potent form of protein. Remember how I said, if this doesn't hammer at home for you guys, and you'll understand why, protein powder is actually more important for someone that is in a deficit than it is for someone that is reversing or trying to build weight. This is the reason why. Because the purity of protein powder, have a guess. In a scoop of 30 grams, it's 25 grams of protein. A decent one is 25 grams of protein. That is 83% protein. 83% of the weight of the scoop is actually protein, if you're choosing the right powder. If you compare that to meat, what did I say? 20%. 20% of the weight of meat. So for you to get 50 grams of protein from meat, you need to eat 250 grams of protein. For you to get 50 grams of protein from protein powder, you just need to have 2 scoops. 50 grams of protein from a red meat source will be about 500 to 600 calories. 50 grams of protein from protein powder will be 250 calories. So you get the same amount of protein for less than half the calories. This is why, for me, protein powder is not a supplement. Protein powder is a food. All right, so we've got 50 grams of protein in there. Next, remember I said the 20% rule on meats? Here's what I suggest you do. In order to get 50 grams of protein from meat, you need to eat 250 grams of meat. In order to get 40 grams of protein from meat, you need to eat 200 grams of meat. So it makes sense to me to simplify it like this. You need to eat 250 grams as a man of meat twice a day. As a woman, you need to eat 200 grams of meat twice a day. If you do this as a man, that'll be 50 and 50. Lunch and dinner, there's 100 grams. If you do this as a woman, that's 40 and 40. That's 80 grams. If you add this to the 50 grams at breakfast, that is either 130 grams of protein as a woman or 150 grams of protein as a man. Now, few of you are going to say, oh, okay, but I can do the dinner because eating 250 grams of protein at dinner, that's a cinch. 200 grams of protein for a woman at dinner, just have a steak, that's a cinch. But I don't feel like eating another piece of chicken for lunch as well. Well, for those of you that are happy to do so, do it. For those of you that don't like the same chicken breast and the same steak, and vary it up. Go and find your nearest deli and get, if you're a woman, get 200 grams of lean ham, 97% fat-free ham, deli roast beef, silverside, turkey, chicken, doesn't matter. Maybe you like tuna. Drain the tuna out, right? In order to get the 50 grams, you're going to need, remember 80%, you're going to need to eat 250 grams of tuna with the oil squeezed out, and there you go. So the strategy is this. In the morning, 50 grams of protein through shakes. Lunchtime, 50 or 40 grams of protein, depending on if you're a man or a woman, through a chicken wrap, a turkey wrap, tuna and rice cakes stacked up, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But just aim to get your 200 grams to 250 grams of meat consumption there at lunch. Repeat the same at dinner. This means you arrive at the end of the day as a woman, probably needing 10 to 20 grams of protein, and you're done. As a man, you're looking at needing another 50 grams of protein to get you up to, what? 200 grams. So how do you do that? I'll tell you how I do it. A protein bar, 20 grams. Packet of beef jerky, 20 grams. Some yogurt or some cottage cheese for dessert with some berries. Simple. So I'm going to run you through it in its entirety. So you cannot tell me, again, and we're going to refer to this podcast every single time someone says, I'm just struggling to get to my protein target. First thing you do, start the day with 50 grams of protein powder. Next up, and you can integrate the snacks whenever you want, by the way, the protein snacks. Lunchtime, 40 or 50 grams of protein through 200 to 250 grams of meat of any kind. Dinner, repeat. You've nearly got the target. Backfill with a protein bar, cottage cheese on raisin toast, beef jerky packet, whole bunch of yogurt, delicious Greek yogurt with some berries on top. Have it with a banana, with some fruit. That is going to have you nailing 150 grams to 200 grams every single day. And that, my friends, alone, regardless of exercise, will change your body. I've made it my mission in this podcast before I get on this plane to get you guys to hear it, because it's this thing where you're kind of, half of you will walk away and go, oh, that's cool, and do nothing. But for the half of you that do this, and you do it repeatedly, what's going to end up happening is your body will change as a consequence. You'll eat less calories overall because you'll feel so full. You will build some tone or some muscle, whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing. And what's going to happen is you're going to look awesome. When you put your shirt on or you take your shirt off, whichever one it is, you're going to look awesome because you've provided the building blocks that you haven't been providing for your day. Guys, this has been the Better Body Academy podcast. Please, if you're one of my client and you still haven't left a review for the podcast, please help. Let me spread the word. And if you're listening to this on replay, you love it, you think you got some value out of this episode, please share it to your stories. I appreciate that more than you know. And I'll see you in the next episode. Okay, team, podcast over. So we've got some questions here. Did I convey the message well enough? That's the first question that I want to ask. And let me just see if I'm on. I'm going to end the Instagram live video. See you, Instagram. Bye-bye. Okay, so let's get over and answer these questions. Having my protein coffee as we speak. So good. All right, what else have we got here? Ask me some questions, guys. Sipping protein water. Okay, so I'm just going to make, I don't know who it is, but I'm going to make a comment on protein water. I'm personally not yet sold on protein water, unless it is based on whey protein isolate. Most protein waters are based on amino acids and collagen, okay? At this point in time, the evidence is not clear enough that this is the best for what we're trying to do here. It's not that they're unimportant, but for what we're trying to do, we really want it to be coming from what are called complete proteins, okay? So I'm personally not a huge fan of protein water yet. That might change with more evidence, but unless it is a protein, there are some, by the way, check your protein water, look at it. Is it based on whey protein isolate or collagen? I would prefer personally it to be whey protein isolate. Okay, Lucy says, my normal coffee, I make it long black, but make it with a scoop of protein mixed in a shaker. Wow. Okay, I have never done that. So we're talking here a black coffee mixed up with a protein powder. Interesting. Yeah. And I guess if it's a vanilla protein, then it'll just take on the role of the coffee, right? Or an unsweetened. I've never actually done that. Thanks, Luce. Sometimes the coach becomes the coached. I'm going to do that straight after this and go and trial it. Okay. Any recommendations for protein powder in the UK? Okay. I could give you 17,000 different recommendations. But actually what you want to do is you want to just look for any whey protein isolate. Any whey protein isolate. It's generally going to be really, really good. The one that I would suggest people buying from is myprotein.com, but really doesn't matter. You want to be having a whey protein isolate, and you want to be looking for around 83, 84% protein. So in other words, a 30 gram scoop, is there 25 grams of protein in it? Bang, that's all you need to know. Okay? Don't be buying it's got this added and it's got this added and it's got this added. You want something that's advertised as whey protein isolate and low or no carbs and fats added, which means you're just getting pure protein, which is why you're consuming it in the first place. Guys, can you please keep letting me know if you got questions? Let me know if you got questions. Like this is the time to ask when we're on a roll here. Don't sit on your questions. Nick says, are we meeting at the surf club? Nick, I actually just sent you a message on WhatsApp asking you the exact same thing. So you're the boss, brother, whatever you prefer. I would like you to direct us because you're this is your stomp, mate. I'm just joining in. Mike's just joining in. So whether it's Umina Surf Club or whether it's Edalong, you tell us what you would prefer, brother, and we will post that into the group. Guys, any other questions? Tell me. Warren says bulk nutrients, whey protein has 25.6 and 30 grams of protein. There you go, Wazza. That's why I recommend to all of our Australian clients to buy from bulknutrients.com.au. It's because it's the best one that I found. And in addition to that, firstly, it's Australian. So if you're Australian, you should support a local company. They manufacture out of Tasmania, and their customer service and freight speed it's a joke how quick it is. It's extremely good. And the product tastes great. There's a great range of flavors. That's always the one that I would recommend. And again, whey protein isolate. All right. Anyone else with questions? Is it the same for plant-based proteins? Look, yeah. Okay, so you see my head just go down instantly. It's true that some people cannot tolerate whey, right? And that's got nothing to do with them being a vegetarian or not. It's just hard for them to tolerate. For whatever reason, they get these stomach cramps and they get the farts and all that type of stuff. You're not going to get whey is the gold standard, okay? So all plant proteins are not going to be as good as whey. In terms of yield, or in terms of the best type, what I would recommend would be probably pea protein. I would get that from bulknutrients.com.au as well. Plant proteins don't taste anywhere as good as animal proteins. Whey protein, but it is what it is. If you can't tolerate whey, and you will know it because there's a difference between like having a few farts because your protein's high and getting like stomach cramps and shit, and that doesn't feel good and it's a bit of a sucker. What I will say is that for our vegetarian or vegan friends, if you absolutely need a protein powder more than someone who consumes meat. Absolutely. And the reason is because the yield of protein from vegetarian foods, by their very nature, they're not flesh, right? So you need to have a protein powder adding in. Like it's much more important, I reckon, for vegetarians to be taking protein powder than it is for actually meatitarians. I know that's not a word, but you get it. Okay, guys. Well, we're going to leave it there if there's no other questions. Hopefully that's been helpful. Like I said, guys, do us a favor. If you got 2 minutes, literally go over and leave me a review. It would really, really, really be helpful in spreading the podcast. Other than that, I'll be seeing you guys from the flip. I've got a 15-hour flight with 2 kids. It's going to be fun. So I'll also take tips. from all of you guys. I've done it a few times, but they're starting to get to the age now where Atlas will turn 2 in July. So he's a big boy now and he can run around and do shit. And yeah, the only good saving grace is the flight's at 9:30 at night. So hopefully we can just conk them out quite quickly. Hopefully. Anyway, would love to see you guys if you're local to the Central Coast. If you have the ability to come along on Sunday morning, 6:30, we will confirm the meeting at either Umina Surf Club or Ettalong Ferry Wharf, according to what the locals want to do there. And yeah, it'd be so good to be able to see you guys. Love you all, appreciate you. Hope for the podcast was value, and I'll see you soon. Ciao.